I unalived my friend with a strobe light. They still haven't caught me. It was October, my junior year of college, and per usual, my frat had a Halloween party that was hosted at my house. Everyone was dressed up accordingly. There were goblins, vampires, slutty cats, slutty dogs, slutty sluts, characters from movies like Grease and Star Wars. One dude was a hobbit and another dude was the her right and the pussy guy from all those YouTube videos. I was dressed up as a medieval knight, which came with the hood, fake chainmail, a sword, the whole nine. On my chest were the words "a night to remember." When people came up to me and asked, "Hey Rivy, why are you a night to remember?" I would immediately lift my gown to the side to reveal a 3-foot-long plush penis accompanied with a saggy set of balls. I waved the effing thing around like a flag, chased my friends with it, shrieked when it got caught in a door, and plopped in on the beer pong table to distract my opponents from hitting cups. It was a riot and everyone had a good laugh. Later on in the night, many more people ended up coming through than predicted, so I needed to get everything poppin'. The living room was the dance floor and the main area everyone hung out in, so I had to think of something cool to get the juices flowing. In the back of the room, I saw that one of my big strobe lights was there but not on. I plugged it in, flipped the switch, and everyone cheered at the rapidly blinking lights as they flashed throughout the room. I danced for a few minutes before heading to the kitchen to grab another beer. During my travels, I saw my frat brother, Jafar, sitting in a chair with perfect posture staring blankly into space. I asked him if he wanted a beer. No response. "Are you all right, bud?" I said as I pat him on the shoulder. No response. I waved the plush penis around. Still no response. I looked over at my friends who are sitting across from me and they said he's been like that for the last few minutes. All of a sudden I heard the loudest scream I think I've ever heard in my life. It sounded like a man being held down by a gang of demons as Satan slowly inserts centipedes inside his urethra. I turned around to see Jafar on the floor shaking and screaming. The whole party stopped and turned to look at this kid wildly seizing. The music gets turned off, lights go on, and a bunch of us approach Jafar to try and help. Then it dawns on me. Jafar is a photosensitive epileptic and my dumbass forgot and turned a strobe light on. We comforted him as best as we could and made sure he wouldn't injure himself or anyone nearby. I noticed a small puddle of blood forming behind Jafar's head, so he must have hit it on the ground. Obviously, we called an ambulance and rapidly started cleaning up the house of any illegal substances just in case the cops were to come too. In 5 minutes what went from a house being riddled with beer cans, cups, trash and substances turned into the cleanest it's ever been. Every person in attendance helped clean and throw stuff away. The paramedics arrived and began to address the situation. Jafar finally settled down and talked to medics. He said he was fine but still had to go to the hospital. One paramedic asked what happened and me, still dressed in my costume with PP and balls dangling, said yay, some a-hole turned a strobe light on. In the end, Jafar was alright but needed some stitches and time off from class. The party got broken up early and everyone went home. Jafar ended up dying that night. Some people were pissed at me for not owning up to my mistake, but I was too nervous to admit to killing my friend. Men try to drown a little person, I saved her and destroyed their car. Yesterday I went kayaking with some friends. Whilst on the river we saw a woman who was obviously a small person. After about 2 miles we finally took a break on a shore to answer nature's call and drink a beer. Well, after about 10 minutes of sitting there I noticed that a kayak was empty and floating down the river, and about another 5 minutes passed before I saw the woman swimming trying to catch up. I sprung into action, swimming out, grabbing her, and bringing her ashore. If I didn't do that, then she would have wound up going through some rapids. Since I have kayak loads in my life I had no issues with taking on another person in my one-seat kayak. Her name was Bethany. I started talking to her to find out what had happened. I was immediately thinking she was just too small for the boat to stay balanced out and it flipped. Nope. She started talking about a group of men that has been harassing her the entire way. Asking her if she floats easier because she's a midget, and saying many other mean and unruly things. They eventually got close enough to flip her kayak over, telling her to swim to catch up to it. We floated another 7 miles before we got to the end of the line and pulled the kayaks up to the dock. I sent my bubbly female friend over to talk to the group after Bethany pointed them out. Since they're nothing more than souls they went straight to asking for her number and hitting on her saying how good looking she is in her bikini. She started asking if they saw the midget on the river, to which they started laughing and told her what they had done. I was close enough to hear it myself. After she got that information, I sent her boyfriend over to start talking about cars with them. They started talking about their sleeper Civic and how they just got a new paint job to make it purple. That's all the information I needed. I told my friend to keep them busy with car talk. This is where it starts getting good. I then ran to the parking lot with another friend to search for this car. After I had found it we started taking off its 2 front tires. I then sent my fastest running friend to the end of the parking lot with the wheels. When the group of asshats arrived they were freaking out over the wheels. My friend then looked over to them yelling at them, saying that if they wanted to get home they had to run to catch up to them. He rolled them down and started running for my truck, hopped in, and we started to drive away. I told Bethany that I would take her home if she wanted to stay back and watch karma smoke them in the face, to which she did. On the way out we got a good look at how far the tires rolled down the hill. Those puppies had to have rolled a good half mile, and watching 5 fat frat Fs trying to run downhill was amazing. I thought that was the end of it, but no it wasn't. By some magical force the dude that we dished out the revenge on lives close to me. I was outside mowing the front lawn when I saw a purple Civic on the back of a flatbed truck. It finally hit me that the purple Civic used to be the white and green one that sat in the front yard of a house just down the road. The owner? The father of the dude that drove it, and the father of the one who flipped that girl's kayak. Unbeknownst to me, the tire iron that's supposed to be in the car to change wheels in an emergency wasn't in there, so they had to call a tow to get it back. I don't care about your restraining order, prepare for your life's work to be destroyed. My neighbor from a couple of doors down and I had a long-running feud. It all started when his dog came into my backyard, and my dog attacked it. I was nearby, and able to call my dog off before it got serious, but the other dog had a couple of bite wounds. The neighbor wanted me to pay the vet bill. When he threatened me with a lawsuit, I offered to pay half, even though I owed him nothing. It was his dog that was off the leash and in my yard, after all. He declined the offer, took me to small claims court, and lost. The trial lasted all of 3 minutes when the judge found in my favor. That set into motion him starting to F with me on a regular basis. My garbage cans would get knocked over every trash day. He would honk his horn and flip me off if he drove by my house. He tried to get my 10-year-old son arrested for riding another neighbor's mini bike. It was all stupid petty crap. But it was a lot of stupid petty crap, and we were growing frustrated and mildly concerned about what he might do. We eventually grew tired of it, and filed a restraining order against him. We dropped the legal case against him when we received a letter from his lawyer stating that he would refrain from any sort of contact with any of my family for a period of 2 years. Things settled down at that point. But I was not yet satisfied. I had been staying on the high road through all of this, not responding to any of his bullshit in any way. I had a desire to get revenge, but never acted on it. Then one day, I hatched my plan of evil genius. I was in the hardware store and I noticed some Japanese beetle traps. These traps are just a plastic bag with a scent pack. The beetles are drawn to the scent, fall in the bag, and can't get out. They also sold refill packages of the scent packs only, 4 per package. My neighbor has a very large rose garden in his front lawn. It is his pride and joy. Japanese beetles love roses. So I bought 4 packages of the refill packs. The scent pack is a waxy substance in a shallow plastic cup. I put the packs in the freezer overnight, to allow me to pull the wax out easily. The next morning, I woke up at 3 in the morning. I popped the wax squares out of their cups, and put them in a baggie. Then I crept over to my neighbor's house and spread the wax squares in the mulch under his rose garden, covering them from view with a bit of the hardwood mulch. That day was a hot one. By 11 in the morning it was north of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I figured the wax had probably melted into the dark mulch. Also by 11, the Japanese beetles were starting to arrive at my neighbor's roses. I went on a bike ride later in the evening, and could see a small swarm of them attacking the roses. My neighbor had not yet noticed what was happening. By noon the next day, there was a freaking cloud of them. There had to be hundreds, if not thousands. My neighbor noticed. That afternoon, I could see him spraying them and spreading 7 powder and waving his arms in the air in frustration. By the 3rd day, there were thousands of the beetles, if not tens of thousands. They were everywhere in his front lawn and wreaking havoc on his roses. By the end of the 4th day, there was nothing left of his rose garden, other than a few tattered leaves and the thorny stalks. Those damn scent packs must have drawn every Japanese beetle in for miles around. I had never seen so many in a single place. And that was it. The deed was done, and I was satisfied and laughing quietly to myself. And I never told a soul what I did, not even my wife. This was a few years ago, and his rose garden is fully recovered now. And it will stay beautiful so long as he keeps being a quiet neighbor.